Welcome to Learn to Fly Fish. My name is Mike Thompson. I'm a Fly Fishers International certified casting instructor, and today we're going to learn the roll cast. Now, because I live minutes from a park and I don't always cast on the water, I'm going to do the roll cast on the grass today. And in order to simulate the friction I would normally have between my line and the water, I'm going to use a tool, and I use what's called the roll cast crowns like this. There is an article in Fly Fishers International journal called The Loop. I'll put a link to this if you want to make one. If you have some basic woodworking tools, I think you can do it. Otherwise, you don't need this. You can use a screwdriver with a slot cut in the top, or a camp stake, anything, even a broom turned upside down, anything that will kind of hold your fly in place as you make your forward cast. I'll get into that in a second. So right now, I'm going to demonstrate the cast, but first I'm going to show you what distance to place your roll cast tool so you can get a good D-loop and anchor. So let me go over and do that. Now I'm casting today to 40 feet, so I want to get my line straight out here at 40 feet, and I'm going to sweep to my D-loop, and I'll determine where to place my tool. So I'm going to get my line out, write down the tape, okay, and make my D-loop. And there's my fly. It's out here at about 18 feet. I'm going to set it a couple feet off the tape like so. And I'm going to place the fly in this tool. I placed the fly in the tool, and now I will demonstrate the roll cast. I'll do it one more time. This time I will attempt to cast the fly into the tool. Do that for several reasons. One is I can practice my short distance accuracy. So here's the roll cast again. Okay, the roll cast is going to be a very useful cast for you, and you're going to use it a lot when you fish, and you're going to use it when you have an obstruction behind you and you can't make a back cast. But you can also use it to remove slack, in other words, loose line between your fly and your rod tip to straighten your line out to set up an overhead cast. And if you get really good at this, sometimes you can unsnag your fly from a rock or a log without having to wait out, spook the fish, or if it's just too dangerous to retrieve your fly. And in those cases, we do what we call a roll cast pickup. Now, I like to teach this cast in 5 steps. So I'm going to go back over and go through those steps in some detail and do the cast, calling out the steps. Okay, step 1, start. Step 2, sweep to form a D-loop. Step 3, pause. Step 4, accelerate to a stop. Step 5, drop. Now let me go through those steps in a little detail. In step 1, I just want to start with my rod tip down on the surface. Step 2, I'm going to tilt the rod out to the side. I'm going to sweep it up, out, and back, forming a D-loop. I'd like you to notice that my hand is around my eye height. My rod is tilted back at about 1 o'clock if there's a big clock off my right shoulder. Now I'd like you to see that my rod is tilted out to the side, and I keep it tilted out to the side throughout this entire cast. 2 reasons. One, for my safety, so I don't have that line and hook coming over the top of me, hooking myself and maybe ending my trip prematurely or for the day. And 2, to establish what we call the casting plane. Now I'd like you to notice that the rod and the line form this capital D, and that line back there behind me in the D-loop is important, as that provides some weight for me to bend and load this rod to propel the line forward during the forward cast. And as I follow the line down to the surface, to the fly, we call that the anchor, where it makes contact with the surface. And that's important too, as that prevents the line from sliding backward during the forward cast, allowing me to bend and load this rod also to propel the line forward. Now, again, I talked about the grass. I have the tool to simulate the friction between the water and the line. Now, in step 3, I pause, and I pause just for a moment, just to imagine my rod tip is resting on a wall, going from the rod tip to the target. And I'm going to keep it on that wall the whole cast. And that wall, I imagine, is parallel to this anchor on the grass, just like a railroad track. Now in step 4, I accelerate to a stop. I start slow and I end fast. And in step 5, as the line drops, straightens out and drops, I follow it down with my rod tip. And at the end of the cast, I know I made a pretty good roll cast if that line is straight out in front of me, had unrolled above the surface, and my rod tip's back down. Now, if I'm fishing, I just set up my next overhead cast. And if I'm lucky enough to get a fish to take my fly, I can set the hook. That's the roll cast, and thanks for watching this video. If you watched it all the way through, thank you, and happy fishing.